what it's all about. It's all about the land. And what this map shows you, and I must say it's pretty shocking when you present it in this way, what it clearly shows.
MSNBC accidentally giving the truth about Israel and then apologizing for it.
We have a map that shows historically the areas that used to be Palestine in 1946, and then the UN plan there. And then as it shrunk down to basically Gaza and the West Bank, right? And then present. So what does that show you, Martin, that the area where Palestinians are living has it grown increasingly smaller?
Well, absolutely. Of course,
this is an accurate map. Now, you can see that in 1946, it's almost entirely Israel's almost what a lot of people now call Israel, is almost entirely green, which on this map means Palestine, Palestinian land. Of course, back then it wasn't called Israel. Back then it was called Mandatory Palestine, because it was made with a mandate. And you can see that there are slight little, they're almost imperceptible lines of yellow. Those are basically the Jews that live there. Now, it also wasn't divvied up. There was, there's some debate as to how much, but 4%, 6%, I don't know, of Jewish people that had moved to Palestine that were trying to create a quote-unquote homeland there. But of course, in that plan, it was to steal a lot of land, and they ultimately succeeded. They get this UN plan. Something that MSNBC does not mention in this clip is that the vote at the UN was 33 nations voted for this to happen. 33 nations. Because at the time, there were only 52 nations in the UN. A lot of that had to do with colonizing, colonialism, so that, half the countries in the world were supposedly British. So for whatever reasons, there were only 52 countries, and 33 of them, many of them pressured by the United States and Britain, 33 of them ultimately vote to create this out of 52. There's 200 nations in the world. 33 of them created Israel.
What it's all about. It's all about the land. And what this map shows you, and I must say it's pretty shocking when you present it in this way, what it clearly shows is that if there's no peace agreement between Palestinians and Israel, more of those green areas, more of that Palestinian land will be eaten up by Jewish settlements. Although right now there is a freeze on settlements by Israel because there's so much international pressure, the Palestinians say if we don't have peace soon, we won't have a Palestine left.
And the Israelis say we have every right to be in all of those areas.
Well, the Israelis say, look, this is our homeland too, and we're Jews. We have the right to live anywhere, same as anywhere else in the world. We should be allowed to live anywhere we like. And that's hard to argue about.
It's actually not hard to argue about. It's a dumb statement. First of all, the whole homeland argument is largely bullshit. If you actually do a DNA test, most Jews that have become Israeli citizens, that is not their homeland. So it's bullshit on that front. But then beyond that, this whole homeland, what we're going to go back 2,000 years. Well, as Noam Chomsky said, that's fine if you want to believe that, but that's not really how our modern world works. There's no one who says, my people were here 2,000 years ago, therefore I own it. It would be, I think I saw Low Key say this, it'd be like a Roman coming to Londinium, coming to London and saying, back when this was Londinium 2,000 years ago, I lived here, so this is now my house. Someone from Rome, like a modern day Roman person showing up in London says, this is my house now. It's not the modern world. No one expects that to be respected in that way. Now, you can be offended by the treatment from 2,000 years ago. I mean, Native Americans have a definite right to be offended by their treatment over many years here in the United States. But I got to be honest, there's not a lot of people in this country that think that if you're a Native American, you can walk up to someone's house and say, this is mine now. You can argue that would be great, but that's not how the system works. So why would it work that way in Israel? He also, what was the last? Oh, he said Jews have a right to live anywhere in the world, just like anyone else. Well, I don't know that that's true. Does everyone have a right to live anywhere in the world? I think most places you don't have a right to live. I mean, I think you should. I think nation states are bullshit. But again, I don't think that's how our system works. On top of that, that should mean that Palestinians have a right to live anywhere in the world. If you're saying Jews have a right to live anywhere, then shouldn't Palestinians have a right to live anywhere? Oh, I don't know. Back where they were living when their family was kicked out in 1947, which is not 2,000 years ago, which is recent. You've still got people that were alive then that have the keys to their house still. So this is MSNBC, one of the only times ever showing the actual map of Israel and what it's become and how the land's been stolen. And here's the end result.
Except It's taking the land of a future Palestinian state, which that's what the frustration and the violence is all about, for the most part, the occupation of their land.
Last Thursday, in an attempt to talk about the context for the current turmoil in the Middle East, we showed a series of maps of the changing geography in that region. We realized after we went off the air, the maps were not factually accurate, and we regret using them.
They actually were factually accurate, which is why whoever pressured MSNBC, that's why they didn't want them up there, is because they don't want people to know that's what's happened with Israel. So they were forced to apologize for one of the only times they've given that truth. Maybe the only time they've given that truth, forced to apologize. Oh, thank you, MSNBC, for always being willing to be such a goddamn punching bag.